So this is the special meeting for the City Council. It will be broadcast on NBC TV on Wednesdays 12 p.m. and Sundays at 7 a.m. on Channel 68. It is 6 o'clock on April 20th, and this is a meeting about the golf course contract. So roll call.
Councilmember Noble?
Here.
Councilmember Sprague?
Here.
Councilmember Elduin?
Here.
Councilmember Klein? Here. Councilmember Scott? Here. Councilmember Wells?
Here.
Councilmember Hartman?
Here.
Okay, so let me kind of go over where we are. I sent a revised contract that went out, and before we get into the questions, I'll just give you what is different on this contract versus what originally was sent. And a lot of this, yes?
Do we want to approve the agenda first?
Oh, yeah. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That's why we have a mayor pro tem. So on your, the packet you have in front of you is what the revised one, based on what was, that I got feedback on from council members, and then I've received some additional comments after those ones were made. So I figured, let me go through the three changes that we made on this, then open up to public comment, and then we can talk about other comments or questions that you may have with it. So if you go through, a lot of it's cleaning up. We went through and fixed typos, so we went through those, and then there's still some numbering issues that we'll still have to go back and correct on those. The first one that was I think, because I know I was confused originally when we started talking about, is the concept of net operating income and what is included. So in there, originally, the professional employment services were not actually called out. They were kind of in administrative. So that is now called out as being part of as an expense. And so that was on page 4 that we made that change. Then we made the change on a simple correction on page 8, where we put that in between under section number 5, owner's obligation. There's a standard have, and we put standards that have been maintained. So that's just more of a grammatical change. Then we had, this is one of the things that on page 10, under procurement, the original phrase was competitive, and this is for items that can be bought outside of, say, Troon's purchasing. So if we have a third party that we can source it at a cheaper price, then we can do that. So we changed it to lowest cost versus being competitive, because we struggled a little bit of what the definition of competitive is with it, so we just lower price. And then on page 11, the other big change is that we defined what emergency was. So that was 11 at the top, that they need to contact the office of the mayor if they're going to start spending any money because of the emergency. The original verbiage was there that they had the authority to spend money if there was an emergency, but there was no definition of what emergency is or contacting us. And so those were the 3 changes that we made, that from the version that you received originally in the packet to what you received today with that. So with that, I'll open it to public comment. So do we have public comment? Yes.
You want me there? Or?
Yes. Use the microphone, please.
I just want to ask what you just mentioned. What do you constitute an emergency? That's it.
Okay, thanks. Do I have any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to the council. I do have a list of some questions, so I can go over those, or we can, you want, okay. So I guess my first answer would be on emergency, would be an emergency of, it could be a water break, it could be anything that would be considered out of the ordinary of operations. So the emergency would be typically what we deal with within the city. And so before, there wasn't really anything in there that you need to notify the mayor's office to get their approval. So it's kind of like what we do in our city, that you notify the mayor, or a mayor who's represented makes the decision of what we can do or not do. So that is kind of it. So the profit and loss, there's some concerns on how are we going to be reporting. The profit and loss of the golf course will be kept separate from the city's, our budget. We'll have the golf course in there, but it'll be reflective of any money that we put in, any of the revenue that we generate out of it. But as far as the lines on how much we're spending on, say, fertilizer, how much we're spending on carts, that will be Troon's separate P&L, but that P&L will be open for the public, that we will bring it before the council of what that is, and it'll be posted on BioPro, so you'll be able to review it. But the idea of a management company is for them to run the golf course, and it's separate. So in the contract, we spend a lot of time being very clear on the employees of the golf course are employees of Troon. And so that all the insurance and everything, that if anything that they were to do wrong, you know, from a employment item or pay or anything like that, that is on Troon and it's not on the city. So it's really clear that they're a management company and they're separate, so the P&L would be separate. As far as there was a question on that they use GAAP as their accounting, and we use bars as a city. Almost all small cities use bars, and the difference between the two is GAAP is usually for bigger cities, and what they do is they depreciate equipment and items like that. But we're so small that to manage it, it is not really practical, and so we're still going to use bars. Those are the codes that we're going to use, totally acceptable to our any of our audits in there. And like I said, that the P&L from the golf course will be separate from ours. So it's a totally kind of a standalone, kind of like what, well, Kurt, that's what, you know, he was standalone with it. Troon will, they manage all the employees. So when it comes to wages and requirements of wages, and that's under Troon, it's not from the city. However, if there's a capital project that we are going to be doing, the city would be responsible for the capital project, and we would go out for bid, and we would do all the appropriate things that we would do on any project that we have in the city. So they will do the daily maintenance and items like that, but if there was anything large project, that would be on the city to do our bidding in all of that. So there's a difference on that. Let's see, travel. Been brought up on the travel. Travel is not for mileage. It is not. It is really for housing of employees that aren't working here. So we have a big weekend, big tournament, and they need to bring in extra people and the cost of housing. That's what they're not going to charge us for labor by bringing somebody out there. They're not going to charge us for mileage. They're going to charge us for expenses of that employee being in Ocean Shores, and then it's capped of how much it's going to be. Under marketing, question on third-party charges that calls out there. Third-party charges are that they will provide marketing for like our website, but they're not going to market Ocean Shores Golf Course. Like if we're going to do Facebook post or do things in the magazine, they're going to market Troon and that we have a Ocean Shores location. So if we wanted to do plus up marketing, then that would be on our dime. That would be a cost to the city that would be run through the P&L. So they'll give us a base co-op marketing. They will not charge us for if they did a Facebook ad, a makeup of designing it. But if we wanted to send it out and pay extra money to Facebook to market it, that would be on our cost. It would be just like what we do marketing with the city with it. So their marketing, what they're charging for us isn't. It'll be more than what we have because they'll do the website. They'll do to emails to their members and items like that. But again, if we want to do a full come to Ocean Shores and golf, that would be on us. And then there was a question on, it says right in the end about confidentiality. All the documents that we have, this contract, our P&Ls and stuff like that, those will be open for the public to be able to look. They'll be posted like we normally are. There is a section in there that says, as may be required by law or order of the government and government units or tribunal, which we are required to have open documents. The only thing that probably would not be open is if we had, typically we have correspondence with our lawyer if there was a personnel issue or something like that. That is not a public records request or available, so that probably wouldn't be posted. But everything, all of our P&Ls, our invoices and stuff like that, those will be available with it. So those are the questions that I have that came through on email. Do you guys have further questions or more clarification or? Yes.
Just a quick question on the employees of the golf course. So for travel out of, the housing for that, so what's to stop them from having something where they need an employee 10 days a month because it's busy? So that's going to be a responsibility of the city to house them, or?
No, it's their responsibility to figure that out, and it's capped at $6,000
Okay.
a year.
A year, okay, thank you.
Catherine.
I wanted to clarify and ask the question on page 11, paragraph 15, it talks about the incentive management fee. And I'm wondering why this isn't on net profit rather than gross operating profit.
The reason for that is it's more about the definition. If you go back to, is it page 5, or it's page 4 and 5, where it has listed out all of the operating costs and fixed charges. All operating costs and fixed charges are backed out first. And so it's more of their definition versus what I think typically our definition would be. So if you back everything out, it is actually net. The term is different because Troon uses it differently than what I would typically there, but if you go through and look at every item that is backed out, like credit card, base management fee, professional employment services, any debt services, rental payments, you just go down the list. I don't know how many different items that are excluded from there.
So it's after all taxes,
Mm-hmm.
the profit after all taxes,
Yeah.
including business and operation
Mhm.
taxes, and I didn't see in here anywhere local taxes. I do see B&O, I see state taxes, I saw federal taxes, but I'm thinking about, I don't know if someday we passed a tax, I don't know what it might be, but I didn't see anything that specifically talks about local taxes. Did that come up?
Well,
Was it addressed?
It is listed, all taxes are excluded. They're a part of operating costs.
Under X.
Okay.
Yes, Rich?
I understand how you felt about net versus, the items that they stuck under fixed were items that didn't bother me, because we as a city, we're not gonna have depreciation. It's a little different here.
Right.
All debt service doesn't apply, rental payments doesn't apply. There were so many things under the items that they put under fixed that you and I would, in a real business, it would be different. And with here, I'm like, okay, whatever, it's not a big deal. But I was the same way, and then after I just really got into it, I was okay with it. But then, yeah, there's some other words under the X, a third of the way down on that page. What is it? Gross revenues. At the bottom there, it says B&O tax, of course, but sales tax and use taxes. So that's where you kind of get into your local things, because we have local sales tax, so they would be paying
Right,
local
I
taxes.
understand that.
What was the local tax you were thinking of?
Well, if we impose at some point an additional tax, not that I would ever want to, on Ocean Shores businesses and residences that were specific to Ocean Shores, I wasn't seeing that specifically in here listed as local taxes. It says state, it says federal,
Or other
it says
similar.
similar taxes.
That's where I take it, is under similar.
Understood.
More questions or clarifications? Action?
I'd like to make a motion, request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores authorizing the mayor to sign the golf facility management professional employment services agreement for the Ocean Shores Golf Course with Troon Washington Leasing LLC Indigo.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes.
I realized I didn't ask about the operating costs, and can you tell us why we're taking a pretty big swag out of the street fund to set up this operating cost?
It is actually coming out of general fund. That was because we haven't spent money for those positions. That's what's Angie's suggestion for us to do it, because we have that extra money that's sitting there. So it's really coming out of general fund. And what her point was that she was making on that is that we haven't spent the money, so we have the money, so we don't have to take it away from anything else.
Does that affect our ability to hire?
No, because it's
Going
money that we
forward?
haven't spent.
I
Yeah,
understand that.
because what you are passing right now is one-time startup cost. So everything that's in here that we're asking for, like the payroll, the money for the cash register, that's one-time cost. So we're not going to come back every year and asking for that money. This is startup costs. This is stuff that if Kurt was opening the business himself, he would have to come up with that money. So it's one-time stuff. It's money that we haven't spent because we haven't filled those positions, so the money is just sitting there right now.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 7-0. Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.
I'll give it to her.